Today I have three parts that I want to put on the drive shaft of this '02 Tundra. And this is a rear wheel driven vehicle. This particular vehicle does not have four-wheel drive. This specifically is called Tundra Access Cab 4.7 liter engine with two-wheel drive in the back. What I'm doing today is I'm going to replace the central carrier support bearing. And the reason why I'm replacing that is because the bracket has rusted so bad that it's just about ready to drop off the bottom of the truck. And when it would fall, the whole drive shaft would literally drop, may or may not hit the ground underneath. I'm not sure. I don't want to find out. But it would probably be the end of this vehicle. Could also be a safety hazard, and I would imagine the repair bill would be quite high considering the vehicle would have to be towed as well. I'm going to go ahead and replace three parts: the central carrier support bearing, as I mentioned, the spider or the U-joint that's immediately close to that, and also the rear spider or U-joint, also called universal joint, that attaches to the rear differential. I'm replacing these two spiders because they are both original equipment on this truck. And this truck is 23 years old. And because it is so old, I expect to have some difficulty extracting the U-joints. So to make things easy, I went ahead and I purchased, it's a C, it looks like a C clamp. It's a ball joint removal tool about this big, and I'll show that later on. So what it does is it'll allow me to press the U-joints out of the drive shaft with using that tool, and also just a ratchet and socket, and just twist it out. You can use your arm muscles, or you can actually go ahead and use an impact tool. I'm going to be doing it this way because I feel it's the safest, most reliable, trustworthy way to do this as a home mechanic. If you have a vise that can support the entire drive shaft, and you can put this in a vise, that's how the professionals do it in the garage, the mechanics who are licensed that do this. I don't own a vise, so that's ruled out. Another alternative is to just use a hammer and pound out the U-joints. The problem with that is the age of my vehicle, because my vehicle is so extremely old that I expect that the U-joints will be almost cemented into the drive shaft, and it's going to be extremely difficult to get the U-joints out with just a hammer and banging away. So I plan to do it methodically and safely with the ball joint removal tool, which is like a C clamp. Very first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to chalk the wheels. I'm going to absolutely make sure this vehicle does not roll in any direction, because the drive shaft, it needs to be in a spinning position where it can spin freely. So that means the vehicle has to be in neutral. And I'm going to go ahead and put it up on an elevated 4 jacks. I'm going to go ahead and chalk this first left front tire. I'm going to put this sandbag tight in against the tire here. So I don't want this to roll in any direction, because I don't want it to roll off the jack. So put one on the rear here too. The next step is to get in your vehicle and turn the transmission on where the power is on the vehicle. Put your foot on the service brakes and just shift it into neutral, and then release. The next step is to use a floor jack and lift the vehicle up and put the jack stands underneath. I recommend you consult your vehicle repair guide and put the jacks where they recommend them to be put. So here we go. I'm lifting up this right front side first. Now the fun part, we get to lift it. I'm placing the jacks in the best possible place based on the manual I have here, and especially the vehicle lift support locations. This is from the manual of the for the Toyota repair manual. Now it suggests put a jack just in front of where the front cross member meets the main frame, and that's what I did. I put one on the front, both left and right sides here. Now the actual Haynes manual recommends that you put it right on the cross section where the cross member meets the side frame there. So there's a difference there. I'm just going to leave it because I already have it set up the way it's supposed to be here. Now my jacks are all the way extended to their maximum heights, and I cannot get the front wheels to come off the ground. In the past, when I've changed tires and done other work, I actually put the jacks on the front axle, which you're always taking a risk, of messing up the steering that way. So, but in the future, in order to change the tires and get the vehicle off the ground, I'm going to have to do it that way. But today we're doing it by the manual. I'm using the repair manual as our basis of knowledge here. So at the rear is pretty simple. You simply put the jacks basically kind of between the center of the rear differential and the wheels. And there's just a sweet spot right there in the middle. That's where I usually put it for the rear jacks. Now, this is a rear driven vehicle. It's rear wheel drive. So that means what I'm going to do is I'm going to be absolutely 100% sure that the rear wheels are off the ground for this project, because the rear wheels are under the direct power of the engine and the drive shaft. So those are the wheels that have to be off the ground. These are 3-ton jacks here that I have. These should be high enough because I'm going to extend them the whole way out. And they should be long enough to do the back end here. All right, looks good. So according to the manual, the safe places to put jack are right underneath the differential gearbox there in the back. So that's where I put the floor jack here. And so I will be putting one jack on each side, right in the middle between the differential and the wheel, kind of right in the middle there. And that's where it's supposed to be supported in the rear. There's a clip. There's where the brake line goes through. I'm just going to use that as a reference. And then I'm going to put the other side in, the left side, before I lower the jack here. All right. Okay, so once you got them lined up with symmetry, just lower the jack, floor jack slowly. All right, that's set in there really nicely. Here we have the main carrier support bearing. As you can see, it looks like it's been underneath the Atlantic Ocean for 700 years, and that's why I'm replacing it. I can't believe it's held up this long. So this is probably 23 years old, including the bolts that hold it are also probably 23 years old. They've never been changed. That's the main part of the operation today. So I put a nice little short bungee cord here because when I release these bolts, something needs to hold this drive shaft in the center area here. So that's going to be that. And then I've done the same thing all the way up front. Here's the front where it attaches to the transfer. And I believe it just slides right out of there. But when it slides out of there, it's very important that you protect your exhaust system, which is right here for me. This is the exhaust system. So the drive shaft is here. I want to make sure that it's suspended. And I have a piece right here, right there. It's suspending it here. So the idea is that it won't fall, crash down, and it won't get ruined. In fact, I probably will put a rubber mat underneath here when I need to pull it out. But actually, what I want to do is I want to keep it suspended up there on that bungee cord. Right there, there's the bungee cord. And I'm going to pull it on top carefully above this, which is my exhaust. I just had new exhaust system put in several years ago, and I want to keep it. So that's what the bungee cords are for. The next important step is that you put a line so we can get everything lined up back at the end there. So it's going to go from this differential all the way up to through these attachment points for the spider onto the drive shaft. So let's just make a straight line here. I'm gonna make a mark like this. So I'll get everything lined up here. Let's start right here. So now that I've got my chalk working, I'm just gonna put a line like this and mark it off. There. It's where the spider attaches right in there. So we got a nice straight line here, and then onto the actual differential here too. I'm going to continue to make some straight lines in the center carrier bearing area here. I'm going to go ahead and use this side here and just put straight marks all the way across through here. So there we go. Put it right down the center of this hole here for the U-joint. And where that hits the yoke right here, make sure that's well lit up with the marker. Okay. Then make sure that line continues over here. Best you can line it up so you can get a alignment right here. Put the mark kind of in here. So we got a straight line here. Continue for a little ways on this drive shaft here. There we go. There, nice line there. And then finally, we're going to get a line here where the front of the drive shaft attaches to the transfer. Okay. Got a line coming through here all the way up in there. There we go. Nice, good line here. Coming through there. Now we are going to remove the 4 bolts that connect to the rear differential. The size that you need is 14 millimeters. That's this wrench size here. I'm just going to go ahead and use this wrench here. I'm going to have to hold it for now. So you need a 14 millimeter wrench. And since I don't have a 14 millimeter wrench, I'm just going to use this adjustable wrench, and hopefully that works. And you're going to need a socket, 14 millimeter socket, and then we're going to use this impact gun to hopefully remove this. There we go. The impact tool is not working so well. It's hard to get into this space here. And behind where this nut is, there's not a room for a socket at all. So you literally have to use a wrench, either an adjustable wrench or 14 millimeter wrench. So I've got a nice 14 millimeter socket here. And so what I'm going to do is use the ratchet, do this by hand. And so just hold that still and then use my own muscles here to get this baby loosened. Today is day 2. I'm back at it. I got some PB Blaster, which is a solution that basically breaks, it's supposed to help break bolts free that get sealed and rusted and etc. And I've got these 2 14 millimeter basic box wrenches. And with these 2, I believe I can get these bolts off. These bolts are not easy to get off from the rear differential attaching to the drive shaft. It's not at all easy. It takes a tremendous amount of effort. Here's the rear of the drive shaft where it connects to the differential. So best bet is to use these 2 14 millimeter box wrenches here. I've already sprayed this with the PB Blaster about an hour ago. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts. Best way to do this is to get a V and then decide the direction you're going. So I'm going to be loosening the bolt. So that means I'm going to go pushing up with this left one and down with this one. So I want to be using the ring end here, not the regular wrench end. All right, so we're just going to really crank on it here. So I'm taking the bolts off, so I'm going counterclockwise. And then the nut should go the opposite direction. Hopefully this universal shaft doesn't move because basically it makes it difficult when it moves. So here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this impact tool. Put my safety glasses on. I now have this wobble attachment device so you can get a nice solid lock on this whatchamacallit. Nice lock on this bolt here. And it's like you have to hold this one and then go. The bolts that hold the rear of the drive shaft onto my vehicle, they are so tightened down that I'm unable to loosen them with my body strength. The reason why they are so difficult to get off is because Toyota they douse all the bolts with Loctite when they put them back on, and their intention is that they'll never ever come off unless it's really necessary to do. So if I took my truck into the Toyota shop, they're probably going to end up going to something like this. This is your basic Coleman propane tank used for camping, etc., to heat your meals when you're out camping in the great forests. And then you're going to need one of these torches, and this one was well rated on Amazon. I do recommend it. It's AUSAIL, sale. I recommend it because when I turned this on after reading the directions, I was able to work it instantly. There's no real learning process to it. You simply screw this onto the canister, and then you turn the valve a couple times to release the gas, and all you do is hit the trigger and it will shoot in the direction that you have this thing pointed. So as you can see here, I'm just going to wipe off this old lithium grease here because I have it soaked with it as much as I can get off here, because it'll just catch on fire if I don't. So get as much of that stuff off. Now I have the vehicle in neutral, so I can spin it like this and get off all of that stuff as much as I can. Keep the chance of it igniting, keeping that chance as low as possible. All right. I've gotten a lot of that grease off. So let's go ahead and burn one of these bolts to see what we can do here. Okay, so we want to go, it would be counterclockwise here. So let's go. All right, guy. Now, if you can get MAP gas, that supposedly is a little bit hotter. This propane is just going to take a little bit more time. But since I've got a whole canister of this cooking flame, this propane fuel, I got a lot of fuel ready to go. That hasn't, changed color or anything. I think if it starts to look red hot, then that'll be the time to give it a shot here. All right, I'm going to give it another go. Start smoking pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go pulling up. Ugh. That is amazing how hard that is to get off. I'll try it one more time here. As you can see, this is not easy. In order to take out these 14 millimeter bolts, I went through the same procedure that I used to take out 14 millimeter 4 drive shaft bolts in the rear. I had to use a propane lighter torch, and I held it on there for 3 to 5 minutes. You definitely want to get off any kind of lubricant that you tried earlier, like PB Blaster, before you do that, because that'll keep the flames down. And I mean, it'll be so hot that like some of the bearing grease inside these bearings will start to smoke. That's how hot it has to be, and you'll eventually be able to get the bolts out. There's only one bolt, which I was able to get out with just PB Blaster. So I also sprayed lithium grease there a long time ago, which didn't really help. So now all I'm doing is taking this thing off slowly. So I've positioned one of my jacks high enough so it's just high enough over the exhaust so that when this thing drops, it's not going to take out my exhaust system. So all I'm doing now is just taking this off by hand. My 14 millimeter socket is stripped from using the impact wrench and never having it catch. It just did a job on the. Plus, I recommend you use gloves. It makes it a little easier to do this. So this is a tough work. It's not easy at all. It's the toughest auto repair job I've ever had to do. Don't take this lightly. If you're gonna need some time off to do this job. The first 2 days I tried just with my arm strength and PB Blaster, and I could not get it with these wrenches. Today is number 3, and all I'm gonna try to do on this day is to get this drive shaft finally off the vehicle. Then tomorrow I can work on the actual drive shaft parts. So, just taking this bad boy off. I think right now I'm getting to the point where the bolt or the nut is an issue. But you definitely have to have 14 millimeter wrenches like I have here. So far, the socket has not done any good at all. The impact wrench has not done any good. I'll work on the other side now. Just take it. It's coming off slowly. This is the center carrier bracket I'm working on. Now this carrier bracket and the bolts and everything, they're all 23 years old. And that's why this is really a piece of work. Get these guys off. Definitely I'm going to have to get another 14 millimeter socket because the one I have now is stripped. I'm working on this for 3 days. Just take it down slowly by hand. I'll probably have to put it up slowly by hand as well. Hopefully all the new bolts that I got work so I don't have to use these old ones again. That's another thing. You make sure you get the proper bolts so you don't have to use these old ones again. There, it's coming down really well. So it needs a lot more work though. There, it's coming down. Got a ways to go, but this is smart. The rest of my job for today is just basically this. So here I am, and the first step I need to do is take off these retainer rings that are on the spiders of these drive shafts. Now I'm in the process of taking these retainer clips off so I can get this center spider out. So let's get these clips off. We'll get this guy shortly. There we go. Once you get like one of the edges out, then it seems to come out pretty easily. Just kind of follow it along here. There, that wasn't bad at all. Just sit these guys aside here for now. Now the idea is that we're going to be replacing this spider here in the center because you got to dismantle it to get this bearing off anyway. And a lot of times these clips break when you take them out. So far they haven't though. They come out just fine. Once you get like a hold of it, try to get the edge out here, which I'm getting pretty close to get doing. And should be good. There we go. Wow, okay. Just like how that seems to fit better that way. I'm gonna get this thing started here. There we go. Now you kind of want to get the socket in the center of that. There we go. Best we can center things up here with the clamp. All right, now looks like we are just about ready here to clamp it down. All right, so I got everything lined up here pretty well. I'm gonna try to press this bearing through. So let's just work at it. It's going through now. Oh, it's definitely moving now. So as much as I was hoping this 1-inch socket worked, I think it's a little bit too small. So you're gonna need a little bit bigger if you want to use the socket approach. But I'm using the clamp just itself, and it's pressing down through. Not too bad, but I still need a breaker bar to do it. Got to be really close to getting that thing where it needs to be. I can feel it. All right, let's take another look at it. Okay, that's pretty well cranked. We're going to release it. Release the clamp. Okay. Now I definitely have it pushed in far enough where we're going to be able to get it out now. All right. Okay, so all we got to do is figure out how to get one of these. There it is. Okay. So I just pulled on the cap, and sure enough, it came out. And yeah, as you look on the inside, there are a whole bunch of little bearings. Now, I'm definitely not reusing this, but get an idea what it looks like. Looks like there's also some grease down in there. So one of the steps I'm going to be doing is putting grease down in there. So we're going to store this here in this box of used parts. So that's cool. This is going to be, there it is. Here's the other one. I'm just going to pull on it. And we're going to get this, there it is, unattached. Now that's the most important step to getting this thing off, because it's the only way you can do it. Now, just notice there's a little washer here behind the cap. I may need that or not, I don't know. But I'm going to put it in the used spot there. Or for the used parts, I need to get this cap off. See how that comes off. There we go. Use some pliers, pull it right off. The bearings look good, and it's very well greased on the inside here. There's that cap. That looks like we're going to have to press out from one of these sides, and so we can get this whole entire thing out here. So let's get the clamp and start pressing. All right, press this baby out. I'm going to press this one out just like we pressed out the other one. We got a ways to go. May have to kind of brace the drive shaft here a little bit. There we go. Now it should go through. So you got to make sure that that cap end can fit through this small end of the clamp here. And it will. You just have to take the time to line it up. All right, that looks good to me. I'll give it a shot here. There, I'm not hearing that pop, which means I think it's going through the center. And then you can see that little dimple. That's so I'm going to just try to flatten that out. All right. So get my light back on. And then it just looks like that screwdriver should be just fine. We're just going to pound it with the hammer a couple times here just to get that flattened. If that doesn't work, we can try my chisel, but that might work too, actually. You just put the corner of this chisel in there, it might actually work. But let's try it this way first. I may have to get a smaller screwdriver. We'll see here. Now I'm going to attempt to remove this 22 millimeter huge bolt here at the end of this yoke. And so what you want is a 24 millimeter impact socket, a long one preferably, deep impact socket. Now hopefully this comes out well. If not, I'm gonna have to heat it up with my torch, but we're gonna try it this way first. First of all, make sure that you get all the grease off. There's quite a bit on there still. I've been taking it off. I just have to keep working at it. I used a little bit of paint thinner earlier. Most of it's off, but not all of it. Get as much as you can off so that the socket doesn't slip off here. All right, that's a little bit better. There's a lot of junk on there. This old piece of machinery. So I'm gonna kind of hold it best I can here. I'll be darned, it seems to be working. How about that? Just keep at it here. I'm gonna wipe a little bit more of the excess off here. That might be why I got it on the first try, because I made sure that it was as dry as I could get it, so I got a good grip with that socket. These deep impact sockets maybe make all the difference. All right, let's go back to it. So you got to hold the drive shaft with one hand and then just go. There it is, it's off. That was actually very easy to take off. I never thought it would be that easy. All right. Now, the next step is to get this yoke off. So here we go. Got our chisel and we've got our hammer. Let's just go to work. There's that retainer. Gotta save that after you clean it off. It actually would probably be a good idea to get a container to put this stuff in. But for right now, I'm just gonna put it on top of the C-clamp here. I can see this guy is coming off, not too much of a problem here. Coming off easily, actually. So I'm using this as a mortar's chisel. I'll put a link in the description. It's definitely making life a lot easier. I'm hardly tapping it. Look at that. Coming right out. So as you can see, you should be able to pull this guy right out here. So there's the yoke off. So you can see inside here, it's kind of dirty. So I will clean that off with paint thinner. And then I will put some bearing grease in here before I put it back on. And also clean a little bit more around here, but it's actually pretty good shape here. So next thing is to get this guy off, and we're gonna go ahead. I mean, it's so rubbery. It's like I could almost pull it off, but I'm gonna go ahead and I could almost pull it off, but I'll tap it with the chisel. All right. There, you can get it by these two ends kind of have a good leverage and position there. Just wail away at it with the hammer and do a little bit at a time. Might have to hold the drive shaft down. I think a rubber mallet might work better than anything else, so let's try that. Here's a rubber mallet. See if that doesn't make it easier. Just kind of like right there, and tap away. Here, see, now I'm just using gloves. I'm prying it off my heavy gloves. It's almost off. There, it's off. Alrighty. So most of that was using the chisel to kind of get underneath it, and then just taking it off by hand. That's what seems to work. Now this has got to come off. So let me just work at it here. So this whole piece right here has got to come off. So the only way to do that, use like a chisel or something, just start wailing away at it. All right, it's moving slowly. See, it's coming off there. Slowly but surely, it's coming off. There it goes off. Alrighty, now there's a gasket part there. So that was inside there. Just hold on to that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean this baby up here. Should we pry this open? So let's get some paint thinner on here. All right. Now we're going to just clean this baby here. Clean off all the parts. Okay. Get this right here. Okay. Clean this guy off here. All right, then we're going to get some of this stuff cleaned out here in the yoke. Dip this in here and paint thinner. Just kind of push it through here. I'm going to clean this out a little bit here. This yoke here, it needs it. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. And there's no lubrication in there from before. Do that one more time. That was pretty good. Okay, let's put that stuff through there. Okay, that's a lot better. That's nice and clean. A lot better than it was. I think we're good there. We got a ladybug on there. He needs to go. There he goes on the log. All right, so before put this back together, we're going to put bearing grease on here. And we'll end up putting some in there too before we attach that yoke. So this is the third party. This is third party tools. These are third party parts. This is not made by Toyota, but it's definitely similar. Okay, so the first thing I see that's different is this part here. Okay. All right, I see what the difference is. So when you get your third aftermarket part, so this part that we took out here, where is it? This one. It's already inside there, so you don't have to worry about it. That's cool. So we're gonna load this guy with bearing grease. All right. This has never been opened. Wow, it opened up easily. All right. So we are going to simply this baby bearing grease on here. Just like that. looks pretty good. Put some on up here. It looks like this all needs to be lubricated, so should be easier to put it on. The aftermarket part should be easier to put on too if we get a lot of this stuff in here. I'm gonna go ahead and lubricate it all. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm not gonna lubricate this bolt because that's all that does is hold the yoke on. So while I'm thinking of it, I'm gonna go ahead and lubricate this thing. Just get some of that stuff in there, put it in there. Nice big glob of that stuff should make it easier. Less wear and tear on the yoke. Better, easier moving parts. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, we're done. Now, don't need this anymore. So this baby, so this is the front of the vehicle. So the notch goes facing forward. So we got the notch here. So it has to go on this way. It doesn't, later on I'll have it turned so this hole is pointing down. But right now it doesn't really matter. We're gonna put it back on. Slide it on there as best we can. And here's where we're gonna get this 30. It's a 30 millimeter. It's a deep socket, and we're gonna use that. To push this. Yeah, that's perfect size. So it's what you want. It's 30 millimeter deep socket. It's a big guy. So what it's gonna do is gonna press this metal piece of the center bearing. It's gonna press it in there, and that's what we need. Start getting this thing back on the drive shaft here. There we go. Might want to put on some hearing protection. It's going to be loud. I'm just saving my ears because I blew them apart about a week ago with a very loud lawnmower, and it took me 5 days to get hearing completely back to normal in my right ear. So we're going to wail away at this guy and just get it on as far as we can. Now there's a ladybug in there. If he's smart, he'll move. All right, let's just wail away. I'm going to go ahead and just get a good position here. It's going. It looks like it's actually on pretty good there, but we're going to keep pounding it a little bit here. Yeah, we still got a ways to go. I'm going to keep
keep banging on there a little bit. Yeah. Looks nice and good. So it's going on there. Switch it up to the impact tool now. See if that just finishes it off for me. So let's get that. The washer that goes on there.
Now I'm attaching the universal joint, also called a spider, onto the rear drive shaft yoke. When you're ordering these aftermarket parts and you're looking for a universal joint, this is designed to fit my vehicle, and it's for the rear drive shaft. This is the rear drive shaft, this big hollow tube. And this will fit on this yoke here. I believe it will also fit in the very back. I'm pretty sure it's the same size. Now, at the front, the very front of the drive shaft where it enters the transfer, that's a different sized U-joint. And if you're going to replace that, you need to order the one that's for the front of the drive shaft. So this one looks real simple, well made, and they're not overpriced. They usually run around $30. This one should work just fine. Earlier, or actually yesterday, I went ahead and I made these holes smooth, but there's one additional step. So I used just a file and just made sure they were smooth, and I cleared out the grease. But there's this little ring that holds the clips when you're finished. So I recommend you just get some micro screwdrivers, say a pack of them, and pick one that is about the size of the groove, and go ahead and clean that out, because
So there's a bunch of gunk in there. So there's a bunch of gunk in these grooves here, and I'm just clearing it out. So that I can get that retainer ring in there when it's all assembled. There's a lot of gunk in there. The next step is to press this U-joint into the drive shaft, into the yoke here. Now, so the setup is critical, that's everything. Just need to be careful with how you set up the clamp. So I take out the cap from the far end. I also take the cap off from the end that I plan to push through, which is here. Then I put it into the yoke here. Now I need to make sure I press it all the way against there. All the way against there, it fits well. All the way against the side there, and I'm going to push it all the way through. Keep these, as you can see, these are filled with these little bearings. And just be careful that they don't come out. If they do, you're going to need tweezers to put them back. So I'm going to set this up and push it through. And again, this is the tricky part, I think. Just setting up in alignment here. It looks pretty good, pretty squared away. Then I'm going to get the impact wrench. Get the right socket, which is a 22 millimeter for this price. And take it slow as I press this across the other side here. You might want to hold, another thing you can do is you kind of want to hold these caps. You don't want them to come out, and there will be some vibration there. So I'm just jamming this rag underneath there, kind of hope to hold that in place. And you can put your hand on the top one here. So you don't want these caps to come loose because it's a nightmare putting the small pieces back here, the bearings. Alright, so let's go slow and press this bearing here. There we go. It's moving slowly but surely. Now I reached the point where it looks like it's not moving anymore. And I might have to go to manually using a breaker bar. That seems to be a good old reliable way. Let me just see here though. It's going to move or not. It does seem to be stuck, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And I'm going to, actually I see some of the rubber coming through. I'm going to look at the rubber and just see if it's moving or not. If it is, I'll continue like this. Alright, it's not. At this point, I'm going to get the breaker bar out. Get a lot more leverage. and do it like this. And this way I can use my body weight and just really crank it down. So as you can see, using my whole body weight, I'm able to move this again. So you may have to use a combination of impact wrench and breaker bar. The ratchets don't give me enough leverage to work. I'll keep pressing it through. You can use your whole body weight like this if you want. And really lay into it. Now, if you make a mistake and you press it too far, what you have to do is, first of all, you got to take off and you got to start all over again. So I pushed the U-joint too far through, so next time I won't. But now I got to fix a couple of these bearings that fell off. So you can just see how they go back in here. Just line them up. The only thing that works I've found is just tweezers like you would have in the bathroom. Okay, so they're back in alignment. So that's the tool you're probably going to need is tweezers. Now, set that aside. We got to start from scratch here. Now, when I do that, do it this time. To make it just slightly easier, I'm going to put some bearing grease on this yoke hole here, just to make it a little easier this time pressing it through. I'm going to put some around that hole, and then I'm also going to put some, that's just on the hole is good enough. We don't need to put it on the cab. That should help. Alrighty. So we're going to start from scratch. So you got the caps off both sides. This is the side we're going to press. So you can kind of get it started there, and then use the clamp and set up the clamp well. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bearing grease on the other side too, to make this job easier. There we go. Definitely want to keep things lubricated when you're working with these old yokes and drive shafts. Alright, line it up the best, get it set up. Again, the setup is pretty darn important when you're using these clamps. Okay. I think it's going to go easier this time. I'm going to go ahead and try to use the impact tool. this thing had a nice slow setting, it would be nice. Just have to use a light tap on the trigger here. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, it's going pretty well now automatically with the oh, it's going sweet. Now, so just light taps on the impact wrench works well. So we got to figure out how much farther. Well, we're gonna check it now. Pull it off, and let's check to see. Let's put it in reverse here a second. So let's check and see how much space we have here. Get this other side on here. Okay. Yeah, it's lined up. So we're going to go ahead and flip it over now and start pressing this side in. You just turn your clamp around and get ready to press in the other side. Get that centered the best you can. Center it on the U-joint, I'm saying. There. Now we should be able to use the impact tool here and with slow, easy trigger pulls, should be able to get this baby on here. Maybe not. There, look at that. I'll get a better view here for you. Yeah, that looks good. All right. So as you can see, once you've put that red and tacky grease in the holes there, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, now it's flush. Almost flush. We got to go ways to go though. Looking pretty good. So that next step is we're looking for a good depth to get those retainer rings in. So we're just kind of eyeballing it here. Getting close. I think just a hair more farther. All right, let's go a little bit farther here. Okay, let's take a look at it. Reverse it. Now, take a look and see what we have here. Looking pretty good. Wow, that's looking sweet. I may have gotten it right on the money here. So we need to see that little. We need to see that little hole there where you put the clips in, and I can. Looks like it's lined up pretty well here. That's moving like it should. The U-joint is. We're gonna try to put these clips in right now. So once again, this little hole, this little edge here, where I want to put the clip, has kind of filled up with grease here a little bit, so I'm just kind of cleaning that out best I can. All right, let's give this clip a shot here. All right, so put your safety glasses on. Get yourself some needle nose pliers. And then we're going to go ahead and just kind of make it smaller. I think these pliers are the ones you're going to want to use. Let's get it set up right here. Again, setup is everything. So you could put the top end in that U, bottom of the U there, and then the other one as well. Yeah. All right, we're going to use just basic needle nose pliers. As I bought these, and within a few days I already bent them, or maybe that's how they're supposed to be, but no, they're bent. I must have torqued on something there. Of course, I can always bend them back the other way, but that's a job for another day. So we're going to just press these together. So get that to seat in there. There we go. So that wasn't too bad. So yeah, your basic needle nose pliers, that's what you want. Now we are ready to put the rear drive shaft onto the front drive shaft. And be the same process. I'm going to take the I'm going to take these knobs off both of them, and actually to start, I'm going to take off both. Boy, I like the fact this one on the right here was nice and was really on there. I like that. So another thing is, so this is lined up. Do I have any markings? Yes, I do. Okay. So when I took the drive shaft off this vehicle originally, I made sure to make lines so that I got everything lined up correctly. So I had to flip the drive shaft 180 degrees. Now it is correct. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. Going to do that. Get that in place. It's looking better. And by the way, there's a decent amount of grease in here already. I think we're good. I put some red and tacky grease in yesterday, so I think we're good. So from here, we're going to set up the press so we're going to get the one side here. And we're going to get it started with our fingers. Now we need to set up the press. So we're going to do that. I'm going to set it up in a way that it's basically centered on the U-joint cap there. So what I'm doing now is I'm just centering this I'm centering this press head here on the center of the cap here, just to make everything straight and in alignment. This side looks fine. Yeah, looks good. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and start with. Well, we can try the impact tool right off the bat. Okay, make sure you have it going the right direction. The impact tool, let's just give it a nice little squeeze here. It seems to be working fine. Let's take it slow. Take a look at the other side. Okay. So, still have a ways to go. Take a look at it again. So now I'm looking at if I can get to the if I can get the cap on the other side. We still got a little ways to go here. I don't know if we can go much farther. Take a look. All right. Keep going. Getting to the point where, yeah, looks like I can put the cap on right now. It looks centered. So I'm going to go ahead and release this drill now. Alrighty. Release the clamp. Let's put this baby on here. Yeah, so that's going to work. Now, all we need to do is reverse the clamp here. I'm going to put this on the center of the U-joint here. But I'm trying to center on the cap because I just want everything to go in square here. Don't want to mess up any of the equipment that I plan to drive with. All right, that looks perfect. Perfect on both ends. So we're going to use nice little short taps here on the impact wrench. And get this thing centered. Try to get the guys centered and so we're going to try to get it lined up where we can put those retainer rings in the first time. We're getting close there, really close. You just kind of have to eyeball, I think, just a little bit more. Getting close. There's just a little bit on each side. Just a tad more here. All right, let's take a look at it. Reverse the wrench, release the clamp, see what we got here. All right. Okay. We got to go a little bit farther. All right, that looks good. Just a tiny bit farther with the impact. So it's not really moving too much. I may have, might be good. Let's take a look at it. Okay. So I can see a nice place to put the clip on the other side. On this side, just a hair more, so we can get it just a hair more here. Just like a tiny little tap here. That might be it, just that one little tap here. Let's release it. All right, that looks pretty good. And so, well, let's see if there's enough space there. I'm gonna try to put the retainer rings in now. Put the safety glasses on. See if we can get this guy on here. Here you can get like a little, I was going to say a little screwdriver and kind of push that on there. Right here I have a hammer. I'll just see if I can do that. Push this side down here. Okay, there it's seated. Boy, wasn't that nice. That side's in. Turn it over. Put in the other side. That should go in there pretty well. All right, that's in there. Easy. So this third and fourth caps were a lot easier to put in, to press in, because I'm slowly learning. So we've got the universal joint installed. Looks great. Now we are ready to put it on the truck. Now it's time to install the drive shaft onto the truck, and I went ahead and got myself enough bolts and nuts that I can use new bolts and nuts when I install the rear of the drive shaft onto the differential, and that's going to help a lot for getting these off again. I'm
I'm not using any Loctite. I'm just going to torque them down best I can. The torque is, I believe, 60. And if you can get a torque wrench in there and do that, great. If you can't, then just give it your best crank. And remember, you're the one that's going to want to have to take the drive shaft off possibly in the future if you need to do more work on it. So don't put them on so tight that you can't get them off. These will absolutely work. What these are it's M10 and 1.50 by 35 millimeters. I think they're 1.5 inches long. You could get them a little bit shorter. Perhaps you could get them like 1.25 inch long, but they will work for this drive shaft. So you can get that information. And of course the bolts or the nuts are designed to fit this. So I just simply got the same size. It's M10 by 150. The exact numbers are 440600 for the nuts, and for this for the bolts, the exact numbers are 442250. I picked these up at Autozone. Now, one of the things I recommend is that you set a jack so it'll support the drive shaft. It'll help guide it in while you. What I'm doing is I'm putting this jack holder. I'm putting it above the exhaust here because I don't want to possibly damage the exhaust. So I'm just using this bungee cord here to hold it up. So I'm using 2 cords here. I'm gonna get it started like this. All right, that's just to get it started. Okay, next we're gonna use a bungee cord. All we're gonna do is lift this thing up a little bit. There we go. Lift it up a little bit. The next move is to slowly pull this forward over top of this exhaust, and I'm gonna use that jack stand to support the weight of this thing. There, it just dropped, but the rear end, it did drop onto cardboard, so I'm safe. So just take it slowly but surely. So we're just going to take our time here. We're going to take off the plastic pieces we use to keep the debris out. All right, and we're going to just put it in there slowly. Now, yep, looks good. There it goes. So I got there. Once you have to get a close view of it, get it all lined up, and then it'll go in. Now we got to get this center carrier bracket ready to go. Looks like, all right. So I'm gonna go take these bolts that I got started earlier. They're sprayed with PB Blaster, really doused well, because this thing has got to be, these screws, this nuts have got to go in. And we're gonna get this thing lined up here and just start them in with hands, fingers. Get that one started. Let's get the other one started. They're going in, that's all we need. Those babies to go in.
Very important. So, take my best socket here. Just start cranking on it. Going by hand, going up both sides, taking our time. I'm doing this all by hand. I don't trust that gun to I don't want to possibly ruin the threads of these old bolts. We're doing it the old-fashioned way because that's the way I feel best. I don't want to take any more risks than I've already taken on this project. Just making sure that everything's in place here with the front. Okay, so I just pushed it forward here on purpose to make sure it's completely in there. And so I'm going to put it all the way in. Keep going. There's slots here where I'm going to make sure, I just want to make sure the front of the drive shaft is completely inserted into the transfer as far as it'll go. Because I want to make sure that everything's tight and well secured. That's going up in there pretty well. Now they're getting in there tight. Right now I'm just going to go snug. They're just snug. If I can get a torque wrench in here, I'll check it. And if I can't, I'm just going to tighten them down by hand. Take a guess. We're going to move on to the back here now. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is I'm lining up the holes the best I can. Okay. All right, see if I can get one of these through here. Okay. It's a little bit more tricky than I thought. This is a matter of getting it aligned. Now, at this point, I can kind of see why it looks like why there's a slot on the carrier bearing bolts, because I may need to see. I have this thing all the way forward. It looks like I'm going to have to bring it back a little ways, unless I can get it. Yeah, I'm going to have to bring it back a little ways. So it's a good thing I didn't completely lock that thing down. So.
So what I did is I loosened uh, the center carrier bracket bolts just a little bit, so I can pull this kind of forward. It seems like it needs to go just a tad forward. There, it's moving. It looks like 17 millimeters is the right size here. So get a nut on there too. Now, if this doesn't work, and it may not, I can always use original equipment, the original bolts. Okay, looks like it's gonna work here. Take our time. So one thing to help you get this, the rear of the drive shaft attached to the differential, is you have to take advantage of the fact that this swivels. See what I mean? Like that. It goes nice. It goes through there nicely once you get that thing flat. All right. Our last bolt is going on there. All right, spin those babies down. All right, so now just got to tighten it up. I'm just going to go ahead and use the basic. So I have to use a 17 millimeter with this. We're just going to start locking them down here. Now, you're supposed to do like a star pattern here. I'm just getting the habit of doing that. Just take one each, just do a little bit here. You can just do most of it with your fingers to get started. Yeah. Now, let's see if I can get a wrench behind this thing. You're going to have to, or another socket or something here. See if any of these fit right off the bat. Oh, that's pretty close. So 11/16. Let's see here. Oh, not so lucky. As far as the length of the bolts, these are 1.5 inches. I'd recommend literally about 1.25 inches would be just about perfect. But I think that might work. It seems like a pretty good hold there. Try one more here. That's too small. Try this one.
Okay, I mean, I have an adjustable wrench I could use. This one seems to work pretty well. So what I'm trying to do is get that bolt secure so it doesn't move, so I can tighten this down with the ratchet. So you got to kind of hold both. Now, if I can get my impact gun to work, I think it would make this job a whole lot easier. But I'm going to start it by hand anyway. Get it as far as I can by hand. So you can actually hold the nut with your hands until you get it close there. That's looking really good. So when I tighten them down, you're supposed to do star pattern. So let me go to the other side here. So for right now, I'm just holding the nut with my hand, getting it finger tightened first. All right, they're doing star patterns here. So there we go. Hit this one. Maybe I should hit the other side actually. Okay, now at this point, I may need a wobble attachment, which I have. Keep working it. So I may need to get my wobble attachment out here to help put these bolts on. So that's good enough for now. Starting to get tight. Good. I'm just doing this finger tightening. That's all. Okay. Now, so this is size 17 millimeter. Alrighty. So I'm gonna get, once these are on by fingers, they're all on by finger tighten now. So again, if you're doing this at home, I'm using the 17 millimeter socket here, and the wrench that I'm using, which fits pretty well, is actually 11/16. So we're gonna see what I can do first of all, just with my body strength here. Let's get these things snug. I'm not putting a whole lot of meat behind it yet. Today, I'm just gonna get them on best I can. My own arm strength. Okay, so right now I'm locking it down. I'm going to put a whole lot more pressure, but I'm going to go with the star method, and I'm going to, there it goes. I'm holding on to the drive shaft to keep it from moving, and then I'm just doing that. Okay. So that's, you have to keep that rear nut from moving. The last thing you want to do is torque down the bolts for both the center carrier bearing and the rear drive shaft bolts. For the center bearing, the torque is 30 foot-pounds. There's 30 pounds on that side.
We get 30 pounds on the other side. There's 30 pounds. And the last torque you need is for the rear drive shaft bolts, and it's 54 foot-pounds. I'm going to use my 17 millimeter socket for these bolts and crank it until it clicks. There's that one. I'm going to use a star tightening pattern. So now I'm going to go to the reverse side here. There, that one's torqued. And then this one. Alrighty. Okay. I've got the drive shaft fully installed. As a home mechanic who has a lot of time off right now, I was able to do the whole entire task in 5 days. The first 2 days I just spent trying to get the drive shaft bolts off in the rear. And it was the third day that I finally wisened up and I got myself a propane torch. And I had to torch all 4 of them to get them off. I torched them for 3 to 5 minutes. And they got so hot that the bearing grease started to smoke. And at that point, I shut off the heat and I was able to take the bolts out and the nuts. That was probably the initial most difficult part of the job. However, the center carrier bracket, those bolts, it also took a torch to get one of them out. I only got one out with just PB Blaster. And if you're going to use PB Blaster to start, make sure you wipe it completely off, because if it's on there, I guarantee you it will start a fire. So just be aware of that. The other difficult part was, I remember, is learning how to use that C bearing press. That is absolutely essential for working with universal joints. I would not recommend trying to replace universal joints without one of those presses. It'll save you a lot of strife. Technically, you shouldn't even have to use a hammer at all in the process, so you're not banging up the U-joint. So I've got a new U-joint in here, new center carrier bearing. I'm anxious to see what it does. So I've got the front wheels chucked, and it's in neutral. Now it's in neutral. And I've got the back wheels raised on jacks, so I'm going to put it in gear and see how it rolls. This is the first time I started the vehicle in 5 days. Boy, does that feel good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of gas into it here. And here we go. So it's in idle. You know, that looks fantastic. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. It's very, very smooth. I'm going to go way down here to the end here. That's the rear. Everything looks good. Looks awfully smooth. And that's where it sits in the transfer case. So the center bearing that I used is seems to be well made. I think it was Premium A is the company that makes it, and I will absolutely put an update. You know, certainly a year from now or 6 months to make sure everything's good. But by doing this myself, I save a tremendous amount of money because if you're going to buy one of these Toyota center bearing brackets, this is the center bearing, you're looking at $300, and that one right there was $40, and you can get them for even less than that. So, hope you enjoyed this home mechanic job. I'm certainly looking forward to driving my vehicle once again.